A new season is kicking off, and the 2025 and 2026 Premier League promises to remain the toughest battleground on the planet. Here, burning sprints and net-shattering strikes take center stage. Who will defend the throne? Who will break the order? And who will struggle in the survival fight? Who are they? What strengths, weaknesses, and ambitions do they carry to shape the season's outcome? And now, let's begin the journey of decoding each team. 1. Manchester United. In the first position, perhaps it goes without saying, is Manchester United, the club whose fans always believe every year will be the year they win the title. Nicknamed the Red Devils, United is the most successful club and the one with the largest fan base in the history of English football, with 20 national championships. Their first successes came under manager Ernest Mangnall with titles in 1907 to 1908 and 1910 to 1911. After World War II, Sir Matt Busby rebuilt the club, leading United to triumphs in 1951 to 52, 1955 to 56, and 1956 to 57, and building the legendary Busby Babes. The Munich disaster in 1958 claimed many of the team's core players, but Busby still guided United to more league titles in 1964, divided by 65, and 1966 to 67. In the 1970s and 1980s, United declined, with the FA Cup as their main highlight, while rivals Liverpool dominated. The turning point came in 1986 with the arrival of Sir Alex Ferguson. After several years of rebuilding, Ferguson launched a golden era. From 1992 and 93 to 2012 and 13, United won 13 Premier League titles, turning the competition into their personal stage. The peak came with the 1998 and 1999 treble of Premier League, FA Cup, and Champions League. During this era, United had legends like Eric Cantona, Roy Keane, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, and the famed Class of '92. In the 20s, Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney carried the torch, helping the club win 3 consecutive titles from 20-6 to 20-9. Up to now, United have won the league 20 times, 7 during the First Division era and 13 in the Premier League era. Since Ferguson's retirement in 2013, United have struggled, never reclaiming the crown, though they have still lifted the FA Cup, League Cup, and Europa League. United may have declined, but fans still take pride in their record 20 league titles, an achievement their blue neighbors have only just begun to dream of. And surely, when United return to the top, their celebrations will last even longer than Liverpool's 30-year wait. 2. Liverpool. For 30 long years, Liverpool fans seem to have mastered every skill except celebrating a domestic league title. A giant monument of English football, Liverpool has won 19 domestic championships. Their first came in 1900 to 1901, followed by titles in 1905 to 1906, 1921 to 22, 1922 to 23, and 1946 to 47. However, the true empire began when Bill Shankly took over in 1959. He lifted Liverpool from the second division back to the summit with the 1963 to 1964 title, then added more in 1965 to 1966 and 1972 to 73. His successor Bob Paisley elevated the club to continental heights. 6 league titles between 1975 and 1983, along with 3 European Cups. That Liverpool era was defined by icons like Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness, and Ian Rush, men who turned Anfield into an impenetrable red fortress. Joe Fagan and then Kenny Dalglish continued the dominance with 4 more league titles in the 1980s, bringing the total to 18 by 1990. But then came a 30-year drought. Liverpool still collected FA Cups, League Cups, UEFA Cups, and most famously the 20-5 Champions League under Rafael Benitez, but in the league they always fell short against Manchester United, Arsenal, and later Chelsea and Manchester City. The curse was finally broken with the arrival of Jurgen Klopp. With his philosophy of gegenpressing and high-tempo, full-pitch pressing, Klopp built a team around Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino, and later Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker. In the 2019 divided by 20 season, Liverpool finally claimed their first Premier League title, amassing 99 points from 38 games, with 32 wins, 3 draws, and just 3 defeats, ending the 30-year wait. They say Anfield has magic, but it wasn't until 2020 that the magic decided to work again. 3. Arsenal. Perhaps this is the only club that can lead the table for 9 months and then gift the trophy to Man City. Arsenal, the Gunners of London, is one of the 3 historical powers of English football with 13 domestic league titles. Their rise began in the 1930s under Herbert Chapman. He led Arsenal to championships in 1930-31 and 1932-33 before passing away suddenly, but his legacy allowed the club to continue dominating under George Allison and Joe Shaw, winning 3 more consecutive titles in 1933-34, 1934-35, and 1937-38. After World War II, Arsenal won again in 1947-48 and 1952-53, affirming their status in the First Division. The 1970s brought a memorable title in 1997-71, when Arsenal achieved their first domestic double. Manager Bertie Mee and pillars like Frank McLintock and Charlie George wrote a new chapter of history. After that came a gap of over 18 years before their next title in 1988-89 under George Graham, sealed by Michael Thomas's 91st minute goal at Anfield to dethrone Liverpool, one of the greatest moments in English football history. 2 years later, Arsenal triumphed again in 1990-91. Losing only once all season. The modern peak came under Arsene Wenger. He turned Arsenal into a global force with attractive, scientific attacking football. 3 Premier League titles followed in 1997-98, 20-1-20-2, and especially 20-3-20-4. When Arsenal became the only modern-era team to go unbeaten all season, the Invincibles. With Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira, and Robert Perez, they became icons not only of Arsenal, but of the Premier League itself. Since 2004, Arsenal have never recaptured league glory, and since then have gone unbeaten only in the game of waiting for another trophy. Perhaps the Premier League Cup is still out for delivery. Even so, at the Emirates, the greatest joy for fans is sometimes not goals, but when Tottenham loses. 4. Manchester City. Manchester City may dominate the Premier League, but Google Maps still has to remind fans how to find their way to the Etihad, where sometimes football tickets come bundled with parking passes just to fill the seats. Once considered just Manchester United's noisy neighbors, City are now the reigning power. After 2 early titles, City fell into obscurity for decades. The turning point came in 2008 when Sheikh Mansour invested, opening the money-fueled era. With managers like Roberto Mancini, Manuel Pellegrini, and especially Pep Guardiola, City have won 7 Premier League titles between 2012 and 2023, including the historic treble in 2022-2023. Modern legends such as Sergio Aguero, David Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne turned the Etihad into a fortress. From underdogs, City now stand level with any great English club, boasting 9 domestic league titles, 9 championships, 1 treble, and more to come. The only thing missing now is a century of history to argue with United and Liverpool fans. 5. Chelsea. Perhaps this is the club whose fans get excited every season as if going shopping, knowing there will surely be at least 1 cart full of brand new players. And if there were an award for the club that changes managers the most in a decade, Chelsea would surely hold a Guinness World Record. Once just a London club with a name but lacking success, Chelsea had only 1 league title in 1954-55, and then nearly half a century passed before they resurfaced. The Roman Abramovich era from 2003 changed everything. Under Jose Mourinho, Chelsea won back-to-back Premier League titles in 2004-2005 and 2005-2006, ending the dominance of Manchester United and Arsenal. Carlo Ancelotti, Antonio Conte, and later Thomas Tuchel all brought further glory, with 6 titles won by 2017. Icons such as Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, John Terry, and Eden Hazard turned Stamford Bridge into a blue fortress. Today, Chelsea is no longer just London's club but a global brand, ambitious and resilient in their pursuit of conquest. 6. Everton. Everton, nicknamed the Toffees, is one of the most tradition-rich clubs in England with 9 league titles. As early as the 1890s, they made their mark with their first championship from 1890 to 91. Afterwards, Everton continued to show strength in 1914-15 and 1927-28, the season when legend Dixie Dean set the record of 60 goals in a single campaign. In the 1960s, Everton were reborn with league wins in 1962 to 1963 and 1969-7, but their greatest peak came in the 1980s under Howard Kendall, with 2 championships and a blazing attacking style. Though in recent years they have struggled in relegation battles, Everton still proudly stands as one of English football's traditional giants. 7. Aston Villa. Aston Villa, representing the city of Birmingham, was once a mighty force at the end of the 19th century. They won 6 league titles in just 7 years, turning Villa Park into an unbreachable fortress. Their 7th title came in the 1980-81 season, paving the way for their European Cup triumph right after, the pinnacle of the club's history. With legends such as Billy Walker, Gordon Cowans, and Peter Wythe, Villa have always carried the mark of resilience. Although since the 1980s the club has no longer stood at the very top, Aston Villa remains the pride of the city, with 7 championships and status as one of the founding clubs of the league in 1888. Bar. Sunderland. Sunderland, nicknamed the Black Cats, won 3 league titles in the 1890s and was nicknamed the Bank of Football for their wealth and strength. Their next peaks came with championships in 1901 to 1902 and 1912 to 13, when Sunderland overpowered opponents with a physical style of play. Their most recent title was in the 1935 to 36 season, marking their last golden milestone. With a total of 6 championships, Sunderland once stood alongside the Giants, but gradually declined afterwards. Though today they struggle in the lower divisions, their history of 6 league titles still proves that Sunderland were once a symbol of power in English football. 9. Newcastle United. Newcastle United, the Magpies of the Northeast, were once a major force at the start of the 20th century. They won 3 league titles in just 5 years, playing with an open attacking style and backed by the passionate stands of St. James's Park. Their 4th title came in the 1926-27 season, cementing their status as one of the strongest clubs of that era. Although since World War II Newcastle have never reclaimed the crown, they still carry pride in their rich history and one of the most loyal fan bases in England. 10. Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday is one of the oldest clubs in England and once dominated the league in the early decades. They won back-to-back titles in 1903 and 1904, then added 2 more at the end of the 1920s. With the fiery atmosphere of Hillsborough, Wednesday used to strike fear into opponents with disciplined play and a solid defense. Though today the club is more familiar with the lower divisions, their past still records them as a Yorkshire giant. Their 4 national championships remain historical treasures, reminders that Sheffield Wednesday once belonged among the elite of English football before the spotlight gradually faded. 11. Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town is one of English football's strangest phenomena. In the 1920s, they became the first club to win 3 consecutive league titles. Under the guidance of manager Herbert Chapman, who later built Arsenal's empire, Huddersfield developed a modern style of play with scientific coordination and comprehensive pressing. That achievement etched them into history as pioneers of today's football. After that glorious period, however, the club quickly declined and has never returned to the summit. Dues. Leeds United. Leeds United, the pride of Yorkshire, were once a symbol of English football in the 1960s and 70s. Under Don Revie, Leeds won the league in 1968-69, and again in 1973-74 with a tough, disciplined style of play that earned them both respect and hatred. The legendary lineup featuring Billy Bremner, Jack Charlton, and Alan Clark turned Ellen Road into a fortress. Their 3rd title came in 1991-92, when Howard Wilkinson led Leeds to victory in the final season before the Premier League era began. Since then, Leeds have experienced many ups and downs, including long spells in the lower divisions. 13. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers, or Wolves, were a powerhouse of English football in the 1950s. Under manager Stan Cullis, they won the league in 1954, 1958, and 1959, ushering in an era of powerful attacking football. Wolves also became famous across Europe by frequently playing friendlies against the continent's top clubs, contributing to the creation of the European Cup. Legends like Billy Wright and Ron Flowers turned Molineux into a hotbed of football. Although since the 1960s the club has not returned to the summit, their 3 league titles remain proof of a glorious period when Wolves reigned and were even considered the strongest team in the world at that time. 14. Blackburn Rovers. Blackburn Rovers are one of the rare clubs to have won titles both in the early era and in the Premier League era. They won 2 championships before World War I, and then made a stunning comeback in the 1994-95 season. With the backing of Jack Walker and the duo of Kenny Dalglish and Alan Shearer, Blackburn broke Manchester United's dominance. The 1995 title was a sweet shock, marking a new era as the Premier League began attracting major investment. Although they quickly declined afterwards, Rovers are forever remembered for Shearer's brilliance that delivered Ewood Park its one and only Premier League trophy. With a total of 3 league championships, they stand as a symbol of beautiful upsets in English football history. Teams with 2 championships. In the history of English football, 4 clubs have only climbed to the top twice, but those triumphs left lasting marks with concrete numbers and achievements. Derby County was a hallmark of the 1970s. They first won the league in 1971-72 under Brian Clough, collecting 58 points from 42 matches with 22 wins, 14 draws, 6 losses, scoring 69 goals and conceding 33, finishing 1 point above Liverpool. 3 years later, after Clough had left, manager Dave Mackay led Derby to another title in 1974-75 with 52 points, 67 goals scored, 49 conceded, finishing 2 points ahead of Liverpool. These remain Derby's only 2 domestic league titles. At the dawn of the Football League, Preston North End became the very first champions with back-to-back titles. In 1888-89, they went unbeaten all season with 18 wins, 4 draws, scoring 74 goals and conceding just 15, earning the name the Invincibles, the first in English football. In 1888-1890, Preston defended their crown with 11 wins, 7 draws, 4 losses, 41 goals scored, and 23 conceded. They have never won the league again, but those 2 titles carry historic significance as the beginning of it all. Portsmouth also made their mark by winning consecutive titles after World War II, in 1948-1949 and 1949-50, under manager Bob Jackson. In 1949, Pompey earned 53 points from 42 games, scoring 84 and conceding 40. Edging Manchester United on goal difference. In 1950, they followed up with 46 points, 79 goals scored, and 37 conceded, becoming one of the few clubs to successfully defend the title in the post-war era. Tottenham Hotspur also claimed 2 league titles in 1950-51 and 1960-61. In 1951, Spurs finished with 60 points from 42 matches, 4 points ahead of Manchester United. In 1960-61, they played explosive attacking football, finishing with 66 points, 115 goals scored, 55 conceded, and also lifted the FA Cup, becoming the first team of the 20th century to win the domestic double. Since then, the Spurs have never won the league again, but those 2 titles remain shining milestones in their history. Teams with 1 championship. Some clubs have only once touched the league title. Nottingham Forest from 1977-78 is the prime example. From a second division side, under the magic of Brian Clough, they not only shocked the nation by winning the domestic title, but also stepped onto the European stage with back-to-back European Cups, turning the city ground into legend. Before that, Ipswich Town stunned everyone by winning the 1961-62 season under Alf Ramsey. The small Suffolk club overtook Tottenham and Arsenal to reach the summit, and Ramsey himself went on to lead England to the 1966 World Cup. And the peak of fairy tales was Leicester City in 2015-16. From 5,000 per 1 odds, Claudio Ranieri, together with Jamie Vardy, Riyad Mahrez, and N'Golo Kanté, created a story that astonished the world. They defeated the Giants, turned King Power into a fortress, and rewrote the very definition of miracles. 3 clubs, 3 single titles, yet those triumphs live on as proof that football always has room for the impossible. The Premier League always ends like an epic without a final chapter. The champion will etch their name in history, and the defeated will carry scars and a thirst for revenge. But above all, the league preserves its raw allure, a place where any match can become legendary, where belief and passion never burn out. If you love exploring the journeys behind football stories, don't forget to like the video, share it with fans, and subscribe to the channel to follow more tales of the beautiful game.